look at this instant color change. How cool is that? I hate you so much right now. No, 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 no. Welcome to turning YouTubers into monsters, the series where we take things that make that specific YouTuber unique and add it into a finished sculpture. Before we start, for those of you who want to say,
"But Jackie, that's so impolite and rude."
Stop it. Stop it. No. Turning someone into a monster is my way to show appreciation. So don't put your interpretation onto my creation. No, 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 no. And so for today's episode, we're going to be turning Dollightful into a
creature of darkness.
Oh my gosh, yes! I was already pretty decided that I wanted to turn Dollightful into a monster. However, on my community tab, I did ask you Grains to vote and let me know who you wanted to see next. And although Dollightful did win this poll, the second person on this list is Corpse Husband, who really blew up last year as a popular singer-songwriter and gaming channel. I absolutely love Corpse and everything that he stands for, especially that he is a fellow Spoonie. So I think the next YouTuber into sculpture will definitely be Corpse Husband. Let me know in the comment section below, what base do you think as a creature he could be? And also technically he would be the first male creator, and so far I've been celebrating female creators. Alright, with that said, for those of you who don't know Dollightful, where have you been? She's one of my really good friends here on YouTube, and we've done a couple of collaborations, and I just absolutely love her. She's a really genuine, down-to-earth person who does some absolutely wonderful doll customizations. And similarly to me, she has a really strong attraction to creating dragon-type creatures.
Dragon-loving kid at heart like myself.
She has a whole line series on her channel of elemental-type dragons, but she's also a huge Pokemon fan. And our collab, incidentally, was Pokemon themed, in which she sent me my sweet son over there. He's in my background, but you Grains can see some really cool pictures of him that she took before sending him over. So it would be a huge shame not to include dragon and Pokemon as a type of hybrid into the sculpture. In the past, I've done T-Rex for Simply Nailogical, a dessert snake for Mariah Elizabeth, and a bat dragon for Sophia Nygaard. So I'm really excited to see a combination of a Pokemon and a dragon, and potentially maybe some cat features, because Dollightful's name is Cat, and she loves cats, and she has cats. So I mean, we can't pass up on that. It's all this to say, it's gonna be interesting. And by the way, for those of you new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, because I will wave sharp pointy things, regardless, whether you subscribe or not. But I mean, you're gonna end up enjoying this anyways. Click on all notifications while you're there. So far, creating YouTubers into sculptures, I've went ahead and created the sculptures from scratch, entirely out of polymer clay. But when it comes to Dollightful, she does customize dolls and figures, so they kind of have their own base. So I think it would only be fair for me to start with a base and work from there to honor her style. And what else would be great than not a doll? I'm not gonna start with a doll base because I still need to keep it me. We're going to start with a My Little Pony base and really turn it into a creature of darkness. So some limbs are gonna be removed. So our base is going to be Twilight Sparkle. The only reason I chose Twilight Sparkle is simply because her pose is a little bit more dynamic, and I have ideas for that. I mean, look at my sketch. This is actually genuinely how I do my sketches for sculptures, so don't judge me. So the fact that she has one of her legs up, I have an idea of what to put underneath it, but now that I see it more closely, it's actually way smaller than I expected, so I might actually have to do modifications to what I had in my head. And the head is nowhere near what I want. I'm not too pleased about the open mouth, so that's going to go entirely. We're just gonna rip the head right off. So we're just gonna pull it right off. Is that even, do I need to soak you in hot water? Is that what oh, I did it! Yeah, that was morbid. Never mind. I'm just gonna put the head away. Don't mind me. Just gonna put it on the other side. There. Ooh. Alright, this little peg is actually going to help us quite a bit because I wasn't sure how my piece was actually going to hold. And now Apoxie Sculpt. For those of you who don't know Apoxie Sculpt, it's basically a part A, part B. You mix it all together and you get a kind of tacky clay type material. And it takes about 6-ish hours in order for it to fully harden. This is a really tricky medium to work with simply because it feels like sculpting with dry gum. So getting details right, you have to do it right the first time. Otherwise, you can mess up pretty easily. That's all I gotta say. Now that the tail is gone, I did notice something and it's bothering me just a little bit. I don't know if you grains can see this, but there's a stray hair inside the neck compartment and it's actually really stubborn. Look, pulling. Did I tear it? Did I get it? Yes, I did. I am legitimately and genuinely worried about sculpting the head with Apoxie Sculpt, simply because once it's hardened, it really is like a rock. You can add to it, but it's just going to bulk it up and make it look, I guess, unnatural. Whereas when it comes to polymer clay, I do have the option of working on it up until the point where I bake it. So I'm taking a risk here by doing a mixed medium. I'm going to be doing both the head in polymer clay because, again, I also want to add glass eyes. So I need to take my time. But the rest of the body will be in Apoxie Sculpt. Well, excuse me. One of the biggest challenges for this sculpture is I will be attempting to make it color changing. I've never done that before, so bear with me. You're probably wondering where some of these ideas for the Apoxie Sculpt is coming from, and it is Jolteon. If we take a look at Jolteon, we'll see that there's like quite a bit of spiky fur that looks really cool, and we don't need any kind of tail. So I am mimicking that as best as I can, and I think I want to keep the wings. Even though it does seem a little out of place, I still want to keep it just because, you know, dragon and mystical creature, but just trust me on this. I think the overall design will end up looking pretty good. Actually, no, we're gonna remove this because I think I might actually need to move this leg higher up. The reason I'm doing Jolteon is because it is one of her absolute favorite Pokemon. I mean, let's just hear her say it herself in her Evolutions video.
One of my favorite Pokemon, Jolteon.
Also, the other reason I'm adding little, like elongated bits to the legs is because I'm more specifically thinking of a Kirin type dragon. And if you look on Google Images, you'll see that a lot of those Kirin type creatures have these fluffy sticking out bits out of their legs. And heck yeah, I decided to add some wing spiky things. I figured they were kind of flat, so I added that extra layer to make it a little more dragon-like, even though we have feathery wings. Just don't question it too much, it's a fantasy creature. And similarly to Dollightful's customizations, let's take a look. She often loves to add spikes to the wings, or just spikes generally speaking. So you know I'm gonna be adding quite a few of these. And similarly to the wings, I felt like the legs were very one-dimensional, so I went ahead and added some hooves. At first they looked like shoes and I was like, I don't like this. But the more I put onto the different feet, it was looking much better. So far it's taken me 3 hours to sculpt this, which means another 3 hours and it should have hardened just enough for us to start making the head. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it. Let's not even look at it.
The following Thursday.
Alright, so here we are the next day, and there are a couple of things that bother me. First of all, I feel like keeping these wings would be nothing less than just lazy. So I'm gonna try to remove it, either with this, a saw, which interestingly enough was sent to me by the Doll Planet, the same company that Dollightful uses. So I think they know that we're similar. Okay, I need to stop that. Or through this sanding mechanism. I'm not sure which one's going to work, so we're going to have to test them out and see. So I have no idea how this is going to work out. I really don't know what I'm doing. Let's see if this actually cuts. No. No. Did you grain see that? Okay, just moving this ended up making so this part here was coming off. So we don't need that. Maybe what I need is my demolition kit, which has an assortment of cutting tools. I don't even know which one. Let's try this one. That looks sharp. Okay, so I am extremely nervous. All I want is to make a curve here and then a curve there. I don't even know if this thing is going to cut enough or if it's strong enough. It worked. So I went ahead and chopped as close as possible as I can so that the wings look a little bit more like a dragon's wing. I didn't want to be lazy at making the wings, so even though this is a custom with a base that's already made, it was bothering me all night. All right, since we are working with sanding plastic, make sure that you do have the proper protection. I know technically the bigger mask should be used, but hey, this is going to be pretty useful by the time I get a normal bigger one. But let's see if this device actually does work for plastic. Technically made for nail. Probably shouldn't. All right, let's give it a try. All right, let's see if we can smooth some of these edges. This way. Oh, yes. All right, so I'm happy. This is really good. The hard part is going to be getting the center. We're gonna try another device for that one. But for now, and let's just wipe off some of that plastic. We're now going into, well, actually we've been in unknown territory since the beginning, but we're going into even more unknown territory. So even though this did a pretty good job at smoothing out some of the bits, I think this here should be, where's the hole? That's what she's.
You are great.
That's what she's.
What's the day today?
That's what she's.
Sir?
So I think this should be a harder stone. I'm not sure. I have no idea what I'm doing. What I want to do is, as much as possible, even out these little feathery bits that are sticking out. As much as possible. I don't know if I'm going to ruin the plastic, if I'm going to ruin the epoxy clay, and I'm gonna have to start over and wait another 6 hours. At this point, anything is possible. So let's get a first impression. And okay, that is wobbly. Oh, I don't like you. Okay, and oh. I don't even know what you are. This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. What is this? Definitely not the right tool for what we're doing. Honestly, I probably have a better chance at using this, so that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I think this is good. Now, as I was using the machine, one of the wing parts that were made with the epoxy actually came off. To be honest, I'm not mad because this gave me the opportunity to go into the finer nooks and crannies with the sandpaper. So sometimes, even though something may be, it can turn out to be a good thing. I know it looks really textured from this side, but I sanded the salt out of it, and if you look from the side, it's not that textured. But it'll make some good visual interest right there. So all that's left to do is just put a little bit of super glue, and then I'm going to add that center part of the wings that dragons have. I don't know what they're called. Help me out, Grace. What is it called? Oh, and I am having a bit of a hard time getting the epoxy sculpt to actually stay, so I am putting a little bit of tacky glue to help out. Like so. And like so. I'm very well aware that I'm doing everything backwards, but bear with me here. I am learning. So the idea is I want this leg to rest on a circle or semicircle somehow, but it is quite low. So I'm wondering if I can cut it up just a little bit to raise it higher. I know I am working backwards and I have no idea if I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm probably gonna hurt myself, aren't I? I really messed up. I really should have done this at the beginning. Now I'm just scared where to hold it from. Alright, I tried with the knife. As you can see, it's slippery. The knife is not serrated. And technically I would have loved using this, but the area is way too small and I kind of put all the things on it anyways. So I kind of messed myself up. I used to think craft kits would break my heart, but it seems like only I can break my heart because I am the only one in control of my emotion. And yet I self-sabotage by not thinking ahead. Why do I do this? I don't know. So I'm going to attempt again to use the clippers that came in my doll demolition kit. I don't know. Okay, that works. Okay, we're getting somewhere. All right, I'm gonna clip this thing off, or at least I hope so. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my god, this is so painful. I feel so bad. Okay, can we get it to an angle? Okay. Also, by the way, if any of you are actually curious, the inside of the legs are not hollow, interestingly enough. And so I'm going to do the exact same process by taking the tacky glue and epoxy sculpt and figure out how to make a kind of shoulder for now. All we want is to make sure that it stands. So I am resting it on a piece of washi tape for now. So we'll let it sit for about 4 hours before continuing. frame. But in the meantime, let's make the head. When Dollightful and I did our collaboration way back when, and she sent me my lovely son. I keep calling him my son because I love him so much. She also sent me a pair of eyes that she thought were absolute failed. I think it's because there's a tiny air bubble right here at the front, and the second one also has another air bubble. As much as I would have loved to integrate the eyes into this sculpture, they are absolutely gigantic, so I don't think I'm going to use them on the sculpture itself. So as you can see here, not that proportional. The head would be just a little odd. But I will 100% be using this in the environment, so make sure that you grains stay tuned because I have ideas brewing in my head and it's not pretty. Well, I mean, it's gonna look good, but I mean, it's darkness. That's what I'm saying. So in order to know what size I need, I definitely took pieces of clay and used them right on top. And this seemed to be the right size. I also thought it would be a good idea to put a piece of foil paper in there so that we have space later on when we attach the head to the neck. Actually, I changed my mind and ended up putting the holes just a little wider because it was getting in the way. I also thought the eyes that were sent to me could work, so I tried to shave them down to see if it would, but they ended up still being way too big. And I didn't want the head to be too big. Spoiler alert, I kind of messed up. So eventually I ended up making my own eyes with UV resin and paint. For those of you who don't know, UV resin is a liquid. When hardened, is kind of like a glassy plastic. I did use acrylic paints. Now when it comes to the outer part of the eyes, I did use a blue. Let's look at Dollightful's eyes. Yep, they're beautiful in blue. So I figured I need to still make it relevant to her with her eye color. And now at this point, I'm just bulking up the face, adding eyelids, making different shapes so that our piece is not flat. No, 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 no. So I put the head on the body just to kind of see what it looks like, and it's a little too snaky. I know there's the idea of a Kirin where I'm getting inspired by this dragon type looking creature. I just don't like this one. I have seen versions of Kirins with horse type bodies, but then cat-like faces. I hate you so much right now. No, 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 no. So I'm going to start over, but I'm not going to bore you with the process, but I'm going to kind of ask you for a choice. Here is the first head that I made. It has a kind of goat type feel. And I did look at quite a few pictures and a lot of them had like that goatee type nose thing. Here's a couple on screen for inspiration. And I did use a toothpick so that we can have a base for the horn, but I figured I would go ahead and do the details with epoxy sculpt. However, the second choice is a little bit more equestrian, still has that My Little Pony feel, but at the same time still looks like a type of dragon. And I was able to implement the eyes, make them seem like they actually do belong. Let me know in the comment section below. Here they are on the body. Which one would you have chosen? I'm really torn between both because one looks epically dark, whereas the other one looks like cute dark, which would fit more aesthetically Dollightful. You know what? I'm just gonna bake both of them and I'll make a decision after. And so I ended up going with the equestrian type look simply because that's the one that was the most voted on when I asked you grains. Although I'm a little torn, I feel like I could technically go for both. So now we're going to make all that scruff that a Kirin is known for. And as I'm using this tool, it seems like it's probably not the right one for epoxy sculpt. So we're gonna smush it. It just looks like someone bit through the hair. Instead, I'm going to be using a blade. And now it's all about adding the detail for the hair. It's kind of going to look like a Super Saiyan. If you're not sure what a Super Saiyan is, here's a picture. So we're gonna make some really epic hair. Alright, so we've built enough layers. I don't want to add too much, otherwise some things might fall or break. So we're going to let it harden overnight. You know what that means? We gotta pray to the drying gods. Dear drying gods of Evermore, please protect my piece from cracks, fallen limbs, and droopy pieces. But also,
Stop breaking my stuff!
with my leftover pieces, I made some extra accessories. And so after it hardened, I went ahead and removed the foil paper. Now we have nice and flowy hair. And I'm going to go ahead and add some spikes and details. You know, all the horns where the horns should go, because Dollightful likes that. Even though we did add a really epic horn, I am very well aware that there's no way in Salt this is actually going to stand, because there's just no balance. All the weight is towards the front of the figurine. But don't worry about that, because I have plans for the poses. And I look like she's peeking from me from the other side, but now we have to wait another 6 hours.
6.5 hours later.
For me, good! I absolutely love her. She is looking super epic, really floofy and Kieran-like. I know technically speaking, here are some pictures of some Kierans, and they do have this lion-type tail, but we're not gonna do that, because I'm going to send this by post, so I have to think more Jolteon and integrity to make sure that it stays in one piece. Now it's going to get to the fun part. We're going to have to try and figure out how to make color changing paint. All right, Dollightful Monster, let's just put you over here. There. And I'm going to be using these really cool colored pigments. Look at that. They change from white to instantly, technically sunlight, but Canadian sunlight is, look at this instant color change. How cool is that? Yes. Now we're gonna have to figure out how to turn it from powder into a sculpture. And if we look at the multiple pictures again for references, the body color is a white base. So I think we're going on the right track here. So just to make sure that everything sticks, I'm going to put 1 coat of gesso. I technically could put more, but I mean, we're sticking with a white base, so I don't think we need more of gesso because it is very textured and I don't want it to be too textured. And now we're ready for my favorite part. Ah yes, airbrush time. And so we're using the white paint. In order to get all the edges and make sure it's as well covered as possible, I went ahead and did 5 coats. I felt we needed a little bit more color, so I added some blue gradient coming from the feet. Now at this point, we need to use one of the most popular materials that Dollightful uses. Let's hear it.
Mr. Super Clear Sealant. Mr. Super Clear Matte Sealant.
Yep. Mr. Super Clear. Best way to describe this is basically saving your progress. I don't want the paints to kind of go on top of the other in a weird way or melt each other or activate each other. So this is where this comes in. And of course I didn't want things to be, you know, just white and plain because the color will show up afterwards. I took my gold paint and did the horn because I wanted it to be epic, and also did the hooves because I don't want them to be black, and you'll understand why once we do the environment. And so the rest of the sculpture ended up being a blue type theme. I really thought I would add a little bit more purples and different colors, maybe even black, but it just didn't work out for the dark purple color change that I really wanted. After removing the tape from the eyes, there's always a little bit of cleanup to do and touch-ups. Touch-ups are being done all the time, so don't worry if you get a little contamination. So far, she's absolutely adorable. Now for the really tough part, color change. By the way, small side note, if the eyes are foggy, feel free to glaze it with resin or clear nail polish. There we go. That's pretty. And just shine your light. This is where I'm extremely nervous for the color changing because we have to work with a white base, so I painted a piece of clay that's already hardened in white. And as you can see, the idea is we will be able to put it on and it should instantly change colors. Now, normally we're supposed to put it in an airbrush. If you haven't seen that video, I had so much fun turning different pieces into heat type, like mood ring kind of. I did that with the ear pods and different sculptures here and there. I'll leave those videos down below. Except with that one, we had a black base. So I have no idea because it's a powder form and I don't have a high powered airbrush. Mine is kind of low powered and that's what I've been needing. So when I contacted SolarColorDust, they told me that I could use Mod Podge. So let's try this out. All right, since I know we're not going to need 30 whole, well, ounces? 30 ounces? 1 ounce. We won't need 1 whole ounce. I'm just gonna do half. I didn't know what an ounce is in well, at least in Canada. We work with milliliters, so this much in milliliters. We're gonna do 15 over here. There we go. And then we're going to add the powder and mix it in really well. I'm going to guess the best way to test this is whether or not we get some color or if it's a little too splotchy. Let's take a look. Ooh. Oh wow, that is nice. I do kind of want it a little darker, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more powder. Let's try the sides too, by the way. And yes. Okay, just gonna add a smidgen more, and then we can start glazing our test piece. And no, that's too much. I said a smidge. There you go. That much. All right. Even though it is kind of frothy, I think it should be okay. Let's see how that looks. And we're gonna just put one coat for now, let it dry, and then I think I'm gonna try at least 2, I would say between 2 and 4, maybe even 5 coats. I am technically a little bit of a pessimist, but also an optimist, so let's see what it looks like after 1 coat, and if we get any kind of color change. What? Okay, there are some air bubbles, and it is a little streaky, but it's definitely not something that we can't fix with multiple coats. That is crazy. That is really cool. All right, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh my god. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this, real time, the color is disappearing. That's really neat. So I'm going to go ahead to 2 coats, and as you can see, this is what the lighting looks like, and 3 coats, and a 4th coat, because why not? Now that I know that 4 coats is giving me exactly what I need, I decided to go ahead and take the Mod Podge mixture with the SolarColorDust Purple and put it in the key areas that I really wanted to start showing up, and definitely that includes the flap of the wings, and certain parts of shading, and of course the little tips of the ears. I'm not sure how well it's going to work with a dotting tool, but I figured might as well try it also. And so for the environment, I went ahead and took my wooden board, added a foil paper so that it has some bump and lumps. I love me some textures. And then made some planes and grass. Don't be fooled, the grass took me about 45 minutes all on its own. On the side, I decided to make a small spray can, because if we look at Dollightful's merch, it says stay artsy, but there is a spray can on there. So I do want to celebrate the fact that she does have her own merch. So we're just gonna scoot that right on there. And now into the oven it goes. I took the airbrush and painted the dirt parts the dirt color and the grassy parts the grassy color. Now that it's out of the oven, what is Dollightful without Monster High dolls? I found a couple of them at the thrift store, and I figured, hey, why not you? Why not?
Can you stand straight, please?
Why not use them? And because she is well known for, as she calls it,
This may be the most extreme plastic surgery we've done on a doll thus far.
yep, plastic surgery. Alright, we're just gonna pull this. That was easy. I'm so sorry to do this to you. I feel so bad. Just gonna pull everything. Ah, what we do for art. I just wanted to put bits and pieces of the doll a little bit of everywhere. So this is a cute creature, kind of creature of darkness, and a doll type graveyard. And I absolutely needed to include the eye that she gave me, so here's what I put it. And now all that's left is putting on the detail. Remember those bits I made with the extra epoxy? Well, they're gonna go a little bit of everywhere. Are your grains ready for the final result? Even though I'm pretty satisfied with what's going on so far, Dragon Love, check. Blue eyes for cat, check. The eyes that she sent me, check. Doll body parts a little bit of everywhere, check and check. Mr. Super Clear, which is both on her merch and one of her favorite things to use, check. But the only thing missing now is to have her cats in here. And of course, if I add a actual cat or paws or something like that, it would feel a little out of place. So since we have a random can just hanging out over here, I figured why not add a random ball of yarn? And of course, we need something to symbolize Korea, because Dollightful is in Korea. And with that, I think we're pretty complete. And me good. Just because I used a base, it doesn't mean this sculpture took me any less time. I've been working on it for the last week, which is typical of even the bigger sculptures that I've worked on. Let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite part of this sculpture. It really took a twisted type of turn, but that's because, you know, she takes those dolls apart and turns them into like magnificent pieces of art. And if you haven't subscribed to Dollightful, I will leave her links down below. She is absolutely wonderful and one of my favorite people. And I will be sending this to her, so I can't wait for her to have it in her hands. Just gonna be like,
Wow, Jackie, you really think highly of me.
it's made out of love. If you want to watch the previous YouTuber into a sculpture, make sure you check up here. And if you want to watch a crafty review video, make sure you check down here. Until then, I will see you grains in the next video.